Well, guys, we just finished recording the Sportsman Untitled, but some breaking news we're going to have to talk about. Sheffield Wednesday have just been hit with another 6-point deduction. An EFL statement reads, Sheffield Wednesday FC are to be deducted 6 points with immediate effect for multiple breaches of EFL regulations relating to payment obligation, with the club's former owner, Dejphon Chansiri, prohibited from being an owner or director of any EFL club for a period of 3 years. I'm joined by Benjamin Bloom and Conor McGilligan to discuss this. Ben, it's just getting worse and worse for Wednesday, isn't it?
Yeah, and as you said, we know very, very little about this because it literally just happened. Multiple breaches relating to payment obligations. So this is probably something to do with money owed or payments owed or bonuses on transfers or things like that. I mean, we're at the point where what difference does it make? You know, Mr. Chansiri is out of the picture now, although he does need to be recompensed as a creditor when the new owners eventually buy the club, which could be a bit of a sticking point. We hate to see minus on the Championship League table. Don't we remember the season when Derby, I think they had a 12 and a 9 at one point, didn't they? So yeah, it looks ridiculous. Minus 10 now on the table, and yeah, no great surprise. Not sure why it couldn't have been done in the international break, but I know these things, there's red tape to swim through, literally, isn't it? So more bad news for Sheffield Wednesday fans, I'm afraid.
And Conor, 18 points now deducted in total from Sheffield Wednesday. I think we already knew their relegation was confirmed, but this just feels like a bit of a kick in the teeth after all they've been through.
Yeah, and you know, myself has been a Leeds United fan. You know it all too well, and it's sort of, you know, just kicking a dog while it's down, really, isn't it? There's been a massive turnaround at Sheffield Wednesday in terms of hope, a little bit of optimism. Obviously, after the administration, third party coming in and making a little bit of a difference there in terms of the mentality and I don't know, elements of confidence behind the scenes that Sheffield Wednesday can be restored to somewhat of a functional football club next season. You know, a little bit of optimism. Liam Cooper coming in, Nathan Redmond, but as Ben's just said there, it feels like this maybe is involved with transfers. I think, you know, you're looking there as well. Mr. Dejphon Chansiri prohibited from being an owner or director of any EFL club for a period of 3 years. It's a lot of it's about the individual, isn't it? That's impacting on the club, and then the fans, obviously, like we know, but the fans are the real sufferers here. Yeah,
it's a really bad situation for Sheffield Wednesday fans. They've suffered an awful lot this season, but let's get into the show. I think Preston might be completely average.
Calm down, tranquilo.
Whoa, I've been a big Phil Parkinson fan. I think you're actually, man, you're looking for a Statman Dave, actually.
Isn't it Angel Gabriel, not Prophet Gabriel? Especially at this time.
I need to look at my King James Bible and get back to
this time of year.
You said Parkinson out, then Sheehan out.
I haven't said anyone out.
Pretty poor from
Parkinson to Leicester to replace Cifuentes.
There you go.
Simon will ask him
There's
to
your
be
title,
out
Seb.
3 games as well.
Do I have to remind you that November's over? Do you want to discuss about the
You've just been laughing at my task when I've been speaking. It's girlfriend duties. I've said this before. Which camera I'm looking at? It's girlfriend duties, lads. You'll know out there exactly what I'm talking about right now. Not my fault. Blame the girlfriend.
Going? Hello guys and welcome back to the Sportsman Untitled, brought to you by Betfred. I'm delighted today to be joined by Benjamin Bloom back again and Conor McGilligan back on the show. What a weekend of championship action we had. 4 3-2 wins, and I think we should probably start with Sheffield United, Ben. A massive 3-2 win away at Leicester. They seem to have turned a corner a little bit. Are they ready to take flight in the championship?
I don't know. We've been here before, haven't we, with Sheffield United? A thoroughly confusing season. I think, did they do back-to-back with Wilder, or did they just win a single game? But we thought they got it going. Then they had that ludicrous defeat at Preston, where I think they were 2 up and then they lost 3-2. And, I don't want to get in trouble with the Blades fans, but there is a bit of an argument that the fixtures were okay this week. I know, look, 9-point week in the Championship with 2 away games. Normally when we get 9-point week, it's not from teams that have had 2 away games. But Sheffield Wednesday, okay, it's a derby which brings what it brings. But most teams, if you turn up, you beat Sheffield Wednesday this season because of the issues there. Pompey in midweek, we had that double whammy of the deliberate handball on the line, red card, penalty, game over. And Leicester are not in a good place. But I'm sure I can hear all the Blades fans already telling me 3 up in 32 minutes. So they've played it really, really well. But just for those reasons, the kind of soft fixtures and just how ridiculous the season's been, I can't quite get on board with it yet.
Callum O'Hare's absolutely flying form for them. Again, another big win away here. They're now, where are they in the table now? 19 points, 19th. What can they achieve this season? They're only 10 points off the playoffs. Is that too far?
How many games left? 28-ish? Yeah. It's more than achievable. Yeah, the squad calibre is there. We're all aware of that. I think that was shown even at the weekend with City Peck's absolute rocket, which has got to be goal of the season, hasn't it, so far? 3 wins. I know what Ben's saying. I do think there is probably a little bit of context with that Sheffield derby. I think you even saw Preston go there at the weekend and struggle a little bit. I know at this moment in time, Sheffield Wednesday feels like a pathway to 3 points. But managing a Sheffield derby is always difficult. 3 goals, which probably should have been 5 or 6, if we're being honest. Good win against Portsmouth as well, following it up. The scoring goals now, which is big as well. I like the intensity from the start, and obviously they showed it in the Sheffield Wednesday game, but they backed it up as well, I thought, in the Pompey game. And this game in particular, it's a bit, I think Wilder's sides sometimes are a little bit slow to get into it and then build towards the end. There's a real intensity with them at the start right now. It's a good question in terms of do they have what it takes to get into the playoffs? I think they do. And once again, I think it is because of that squad calibre. I think I was a little bit worried for them at the weekend. I think sometimes with Wilder, as much as I'm talking about the intensity with how they start games, I think sometimes, against Pompey as well, midweek, I think there is a licence for Sheffield United to fall back a little bit and get a little bit too defensive and almost allow teams to come onto them a little bit. And I thought that happened against Leicester. If that game had gone on for another 10 minutes, I think Leicester would have probably equalised. But big game coming up next for Sheffield United, Stoke.
Can I just give a shout out for Riedewald, because while they'll say it wasn't his team, they had a bad transfer window when he wasn't there, and he's sort of brought in Pat Bamford, who you know all about, Connor, and I just think it's been a really, really good pickup, and it proves that sometimes in a bad spot you can just find a player who's played a load of games in the Premier League to just calm everybody down in there, and they're waiting for Arblaster to come back. That's been a really clever pickup, but I'm sure Mr. Wilder's going to be getting busy on the phone to the agents in January and looking to change up there.
And Hamer back fit now as well, which is absolutely massive for them. So
scored a worldie in midweek as well, didn't he? Yeah.
So he's absolutely crucial. I think they just needed this confidence week, almost confidence building week, didn't they? And then they can
Simon, I still need to see something on the back end of it though, because I thought this before, and then there was another losing streak, and you're looking at it, and how many games did Sellers lose? And Wilder's lost more, which we didn't expect to happen, did we? So you've got to give me a few more weeks on this, mate, honestly.
Okay, all right, we'll see. Another 3-2 win this weekend came at the Den. Millwall 3, Southampton 2. 5 second-half goals in this one, Connor. A couple of absolute belting goals from Millwall. Talking of goals of the season, Caleb Taylor's wasn't bad at all. And Saints, their winning run comes to an end.
Yeah, still 4 wins out of 5 though. I don't think they'll be that perturbed by that.
The Southampton cheerleaders back because he said they're going to win the league.
Exactly. Yeah, calm down, tranquilo. But I do think that I thought Casper Denora in the midfield was absolutely brilliant. Very underrated, by the way. Very underrated as a championship midfielder.
Not in this parish, Connor. No, we like him. Yeah.
I understand. I've heard that, but I think generally, his name goes a little bit under the notoriety belt, but. I just thought overall it was an Alex Neil masterclass. They deserved that from moment one. Once again, I'm using that word again, intensity, but I thought the quality was there as well with Millwall. And Southampton, I think you can just, it's one of those games that you chalk off. As I've said, the new boss has come in and 4 wins out of 5. It's a very generalised statement, but I still think there is a real likelihood that they're going to get into that top 6.
And Millwall now up to 3rd, amazingly, 31 points. Where did you kind of place them in the order of merit?
I think I had them 7th, so in their kind of normal little hive, just outside the playoffs, teasing us with it and just missing out. I don't want to come across as damning with faint praise. It shows us everything we know about this season. I know you're going to come on to the open door narrative for the playoffs, that Millwall are pushing there in 3rd, having lost 3-0 at home to Middlesbrough, 4-0 at home to Coventry, 4-0 at Birmingham. They lost
They're on minus goal difference. They can get automatic promotion with minus goal difference.
But it shows, Simon, that a side can have some inconsistencies this season, and you stick those W's on the board. The couple of things I'd written down is just about the recruitment, because the 3 goal scorers signed from Reading, Exeter, and a West Brom. Caleb Taylor, someone who wasn't going to be making the first team. To be fair, West Brom signed well at centre-back, didn't they? And you mentioned Denor, Connor. It feels like it's taken a long time for Millwall. They came up and it was Neil Harris, 4-4-2, get it up, Morrison and Gregory up front. And then they tried it with Joe Edwards, who's doing fantastically in the assistant seat at Coventry at the moment. And then they went back to Harris. And it feels like it's going to be a very slow kind of evolution at Millwall to that style. But players like Denor allow that, and the door is wide open for anybody this season.
I think as well, you go that if you are Southampton going down there, and Tondra will learn quite a bit. I think it's going down to the Den and playing out from the back, slow possession football, especially when Millwall are where Millwall are right now, and it's going to be fast, it's going to be frantic, it's going to be chaotic, and that's exactly what it was. He completely fell into the Millwall game plan, and they thoroughly deserved it across the 90.
Absolutely. I'm loving your analysis, Connor, but I do have to remind you that November's over. Do you want to discuss about the
You've just been laughing at my task for our busy. It's girlfriend duties. I've said this before, which camera I'm looking at. It's girlfriend duties. Lads, you'll know out there exactly what I'm talking about right now. Not my fault, blame the girlfriend.
Going?
Stop it now.
There you go.
Another 3-2 win. Sheffield Wednesday 2. You're all right, Ben. You need a minute.
Yeah, you take it, mate. Come on.
Preston got a 3-2 win at Sheffield Wednesday. Charlie McNeil on the score sheet twice, then missed a second half penalty. Cadamartri missed a really crucial chance as well. 2-2, I think it was, or 2-1 even. It's a really good display from Sheffield Wednesday, but ultimately pointless, and another late winner for Preston.
Feels like when Connor and I are talking about promoted teams in the Premier League, where you go, oh, that's a good performance, 0 points, and
all about that.
Oh dear, it's just. I mean, we spoke about this last week, and I had this being a very straightforward Preston win with a clean sheet, and it was all there for Sheffield Wednesday. It would have been the first home win of the season as well, and McNeil came flying out, didn't he? And I wonder, should he have taken the penalty for the hat-trick goal there? And it's a big chance. There's a 1v1 as well.
Cadamartri, wasn't it?
And I think the lad on loan from Man United had a good chance in the first Amas as well. Yeah. Oh dear. There's very little more we can say about Sheffield Wednesday. I know they've brought in Liam Cooper and Nathan Redmond now, so they're doing some bits and bobs. We can kind of park that until someone is named the preferred bidder and we can move forward with Wednesday. Preston, fab. You always think of a team.
Are they though?
Well,
are they?
Yes, because you think of a team that has a range of points that they could score of a season, and Preston are either at the top or literally over the top of for how they're playing, the squad they've got, the performances. I mean, think they played at Watford, didn't they? And I think they gave up 24 shots, but they got in front, come away with a point at a place like Watford, which is a hard place to go this season. Watford have been really good at home. They are wringing the towel out, and points. Yeah, you can argue. I'm sure your question was kind of loaded up and spun that way. Is that viable all season? But yeah, and I'll go back to my door open narrative. You might not need to be the most spectacular team. You can be really hard to beat this season. Not only can you get into the playoffs, but you might get yourself to Wembley.
There's still that Osmaic hole, isn't there, of which they're going to fill. But yeah, I thought they were pretty poor at the weekend. I'm sure any normal, realistic Preston fan would say that. I had a couple of mates who went up there, they said they were poor. I can't help coming back to that penalty moment, and they give it to McNeil, Sheffield Wednesday. It's got to be Barry Bannon at that point.
Or even Ingleson.
Yeah. I think Bannon has missed a couple, to be fair, but you've got to have Bannon taking that. And yeah, gritty performances from Sheffield Wednesday in the last two, but ultimately, still struggling, obviously. But Preston, nothing. I don't really know what the ceiling is. Like you said, I think they're wringing everything out right now. But you're talking about, Ben mentioned performances there. What are you comparing that to? What is the level of what Preston's performances should be and can be?
I can't shake the feeling they're just and this is going to annoy Preston fans, completely average.
Look at the camera when you say it.
I think Preston might be completely average. There you go. I just think they've kept one clean sheet in 9, and that was the Southampton away when Will still got sacked. But they've only conceded 19 goals in 18 games by the same comparison. So is their back three, which looked very shaky at Sheffield Wednesday, good enough to keep out some of the top teams? I'm not sure. I just think we will probably see a regression in them because
But Simon, if you set up in such a way where you might not concede the type of chance, you play a big back three deep with a good goalkeeper, which they have got, then you can give up chances and still be comfortable without the ball and comfortable defending chances.
By the way,
I don't know why I'm standing up for Preston so much.
Same.
Average is not bad. By the way, that's what I'm saying. There's Preston North End at
5
start
out of 10,
season.
isn't it?
6.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, but what do you need? What do you need out of 10 to be in the playoffs this season?
Well, 6.
6.
Yeah, probably 6. I think they've done really well for some of their parts.
So what you were saying is they're 1 point off being a playoff team.
Yeah.
Yeah, in our scale of 5 out of 10 or whatever.
Potentially. Right, Ben, I've had enough of you. Ipswich lost to Oxford this weekend. Have that.
I had to on Friday. Yeah.
It was bit of a weird game, really, and Ipswich just struggled to get hold of it, and then Plater won it late on.
I mean, you say it was a weird game. It was the only way Ipswich were going to lose that game, and they walked right into it, didn't they? And, fair play, Oxford. I thought the keeper was great in the second half. I thought, they got their moment of Ipswich doing something completely ridiculous to give them the opening goal and, sort of 2 1-on-1s from out of nowhere, basically. But I think it kind of sums up where Ipswich are. There was a game I'm allowed to talk about the double promotion, aren't I? There's a game in the double promotion season. Went to Watford, conceded an equally brainless goal playing out from the back. Went on and won the game 2-1. Sam Morsey scored a late goal, and
You're struggling with low blocks a little bit at the minute. I was thinking about the Wrexham game, the Watford game, this game.
Perhaps, but it was execution. They made enough chances to win the game. Keeper played well, didn't take them, tried to mix it up. Team comes across, switched the play, went over the top to Hurst and made a 1v1. They're obviously struggling with low blocks. It's difficult because I can sit here with my Ipswich Town fan hat on and say if you play the Wrexham game this week 10 times and the Oxford game this week 10 times, probably win them with those performances 8-9 times out of 10, and you've got a 9-point week, including 2 away games. But that's not where Ipswich are at the moment. They're not, being okay in games, and as we said about Preston, dripping everything out and wringing everything out, and it's jolly frustrating. But well played, Oxford, because if you play the money game, that's a hell of a win for Oxford, isn't it?
Absolutely, and we're going to come on to a little bit of conversation about relegation in a bit, where Oxford will be included. This week, 6 of the current top 7 all won, and Borough had a bit of a comeback win with Kim Hellberg taking charge of his first game in charge. Morgan Whittaker, late goal over Derby. Massive win for Borough, and they're well in contention, aren't they?
Yeah, it feels like obviously with the Rob Edwards move, there was a lot of noise being made over it, but I think how Hellberg speaking is very clear. There's an identity that he wants to bring to Borough once again. That word intensity. He wants that level of commitment from the players as well. I think he started really well. I think Borough looked really good at this moment in time, and I think beating Derby is a difficult task. John Eustace side, a really difficult task. Him coming into the division, Hellberg new, and it's been a really positive start for him so far.
Was it 5 wins out of 6 for Derby, I think, before this game, and Borough managed
6
to beat
wins
them?
out of 7.
6 out of 7.
Yeah, and there's a bit of if I say the second half, 10 shots to 0 in Borough's favour. There's a little bit. There's a little bit of Eustace sit back, play for the 1-0 there, but. Like you say, especially Borough, very good at home. It's been a difficult handover, hasn't it? With the way that Rob Edwards left, the fact that you've got to play a 3-game week with Coventry in the middle of it as well, and I think they've done it in quite a clever way. The fact is, we're now going to find out how good this guy is. But what a chance! How often do you come into a job, round 18, win a game, and you're second in the table? And we're all going to sit here and say you're not going to need to crack out 2 points per game or more than that to get over the line this season. Just hang up in that area in the table. Obviously, if you hang up in second place in the table, go. But do you know what I mean in that terms of performance? And huge chance that he's a Premier League manager in a few months, isn't there?
You're right. It's almost a gift of a job. Not that he doesn't deserve it, because he massively does. And I think he's a great appointment just because, as we said last week, things were slightly going south under Rob Edwards in terms of performances the last few games. They've been given a free manager roll the dice change and been paid about £4 million in the process. I think it just could really pay off.
He's still got to turn it around though, Simon. If you look at if you sort of take out the first 4 games of the season where Borough had a win streak, they're not a playoff team at the moment, but they've got all of the. And I think you mentioned it, that you take the best bits of the Carrick team, the best bits of the Edwards team. He's just got to knit all of that together, and we think there's a team that can be solid defensively, that can score goals and can dominate in the Championship. Got to knit it all together, hasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to give a shout out to Wrexham as well. I know they only drew this weekend, but it's unbeaten in 8 now, up to 9th in the league. Should we be talking about them amongst others as a playoff team, Ben?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. If it's an open door season, the thing I like about Wrexham, they're kind of like the AC/DC of the Championship. AC/DC put out an album. You know exactly what it's going to sound like. You know exactly what you're going to get. Now, exactly what you're going to get from Wrexham, and this season where we think it's a kind of low tide, that'll get you a long way. They're doing it without the 2 wing-backs, who particularly Kabore down the right with like. They started without Windass. We know Broadhead has to be cotton-wooled through lots of games, don't we? But he's now kind of turning up and getting goals and goal contributions. And especially if you wind back to our season preview, and not the person sat in this seat, but certain people were not sure Phil Parkinson would still be
Simon.
Whoa, I've been a big Phil Parkinson fan. I think you're looking for a Statman Dave, actually.
I think he's back at Christmas, isn't he? So we can
see him.
Yeah, we can play him a clip. Of that. But yeah, they're in the conversation, and I think they've got some PSR headroom and some Disney money some pocket money to spend in January, Connor.
Especially if you're in 9th and you spend that Disney money in January, which maybe other clubs can't do in those positions. Yeah, it could be a bit of a force now.
I think their maximum is more than enough to make it into the playoffs.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
At their best, they only seem to beat Coventry this season, so that shows how high they can achieve compared to most other teams.
And Simon, are they not going to be looking at Preston and Millwall and Hull above them?
They've got more clout than them, more money.
Well, in terms of
Stoke
transfer window, they've definitely,
as well.
Definitely got the clout, haven't they? So, yeah, they're nicely positioned. And I think you mentioned the unbeaten run. I think they've lost like 1 in 11 or 13 or something like that. And I love my 2 points per game. I think the last 8: win, draw, win, draw, win, draw. You know what direction you're going in the table if you do that for a while, don't you? Yeah.
And I think they were on a run of. They did 4 clean sheets in a row at one point recently as well. So the defence has been sorted out. I'm big on Wrexham's hopes, and hope Parkinson proves a few people wrong. Not me, obviously. I always believed in Parky, right?
Not me.
We're going to move on to our relegation concerns now, because there was a big win at the bottom for Norwich City. Cool. How long has it been since we said that? August the 30th, their last
14
win.
games, indeed. Yeah.
There we go. Connor, I'll come to you on this one, because Philippe Clement's managed to make a bit of an impact there. 2 goals from set pieces, 1 fortunate own goal, and then a nice finish from Forson as well. 4 points from safety. Got a lot of injuries at the moment, but it's just an injection of belief in it.
Yeah, I think obviously the big one, Cordoba, been out. I think when he comes back, he adds that layer of pace and athleticism to the back 2, of which I think they've sorely missed, and probably hence why you're still seeing Shane Duffy in starting 11s. Fairly recently, but I thought Mattson was man of the match. Schwartau was very good as well. Like you said, Forson with a nice little finish. Look, they've spent a lot of money. They've spent a heck of a lot of money in the summer. So yeah, they've eventually started. They've eventually had a 90-minute performance. Maybe the second half they slacked off a little bit. Should have had a 4th. But yeah, eventually they've had a proper performance, of which is fitting of how much money the Atenasios have put in. And yeah, Philippe Clement, obviously there's still in Clement's rap sheet when he's coming. He has been battered by Birmingham, but so there is going to be. It's still like turning around the Titanic at the minute. It feels with Norwich, but there's more than enough there. I mean, look at this. I mean, the names that you just put down here, Cernak, Slimane, Crescene, Forsyth, Schlupp, Cordoba, Makama, of who they absolutely love this season as well, Gibbs, Topic, Diallo, all missed the win over QPR and beating them 3-1. So that's what investment gets you in the Championship.
They've got the squad there. I watched sorry, is producer Seb all right there behind the camera? Are you all right, Seb? You need anything?
I'm fine.
He's good. You're all right, mate.
Leave the room if you would.
If you hear any coughing from Seb, he's got some sort of 18th century disease, but he'll be fine. Talking of the injuries, I watched the Ben Napper interview on Talk Norwich City, which was very good, by the way, and he was fronting up to quite a lot of stuff, saying he would take responsibility, saying they have invested in the right players, and are you right?
No, he's fronting up to stuff. He looked like a naughty schoolboy who'd been pulled into the headmaster's
very
office.
Rosy-cheeked.
And fair play to Jack and Chris for having the courage of their convictions there to say to his face what most of the Norwich fans would probably like to say to his face. Sorry, carry on. Sorry.
But he did go on the show, and by fronting up, I mean he went and answered some questions, and he was told off. Yeah, maybe that. But anyway, this injury crisis is absolutely massive, and Norwich they've had an absolute nightmare. Getting the first win at home off their back is huge, and they're still only 4 points off. It feels like it's not too late yet.
Well, we're finding out whether this is a squad that's been assembled for loads of money, as Conor says, that aren't very good, or B, this is just a bit of disorganisation, a bit of chaos, and those intangibles, like you say, win a home game, get the home crowd behind you, reduce the anxiety, go on a decent run. I've got to say, QPR were probably a good opponent because they are a peculiar side this season who are capable of, that game could have been 4-0 to QPR or 3-1, like you say, with the offside goal, 4-1 to Norwich. They're a bit hotchy-potchy, aren't they, under Julian Steffen. The only issue I've got, I just got the Norwich fixtures up here. Watford away, Watford good at home. Sheffield United away, we started off by saying they're on a decent run and, they're going to be looking at that as a, head-to-head 6-pointer. Southampton at home. So, what's success there? If you win one, lose one, draw one of those, I think you're probably a happy Norwich fan at the end of that.
It feels like as well, because the squad that they've constructed, there's a lot of young players in there as well. It feels like, mentality in these positions is absolutely massive. So huge lift against QPR, but then if you go winless in 3, teams maybe pull away from you a little bit, with a young...
We've spoken about margin for error as it pertains to the team in Sky Blue. We're not mentioning until the end of the show.
He's already mentioned
Norwich, he's mentioned him, yes. Norwich have got the complete flip. They've got very little margin for error here, have they?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know what to expect from them. You mentioned those fixtures, going to be really, really rough. We should move on to Portsmouth because they dropped into the bottom 3 this weekend. Home defeat 1-0 to Bristol City. 11 points from 10 games at home, I think, is the key factor here, Conor, because Fratton Park used to be a fortress and now it's a bit like a madhouse, isn't it?
Yeah, just got down a few bits which struck a little bit earlier on when I was looking at Pompey at the minute. 1 win in 9, 1 goal in 18 for Colby Bishop.
Can I just come in on that? I never judge life on the YouTube comments, but I watched John Messinio's interview and read the YouTube comments, and a lot of the Pompey fans addressed that Colby Bishop obviously was a big talisman coming up from League One. I think there's that sympathetic story because of his health problems as well. But a lot were saying, do they now need to move away from him?
Do they have other options though?
No, I don't know.
I think they only have one proper number 9.
Callum Lang's back, but he's not going to play in the number 9.
He's a 10 more, isn't he? But I think it's a...
Dazzel's dropped off as well massively, hasn't he? Dazzel's hugely dropped off. Yeah, concerned. I don't know if it's... I don't know. I mean, obviously, Portsmouth fans let us know in the comment section. It's not... I think, once again, the realistic Portsmouth fan wouldn't say it's down to Messinio, but there's just a level of quality that's missing. You can't have your main marksman with 1 goal in 18. There's a serious level of drop-off, clearly offensively. And that's going to hurt you in the Championship massively.
And Simon's rightly mentioning about Fratton Park being the fortress, but I had a look. Last season, only Plymouth had a worse away record. This season, they got the worst away record in the league. You can't simply rely on being above average at home, because what happens if your home form drops off like it is at the moment? I mean, the annoying thing for Pompey fans, it started off, we've just talked about Millwall being in 3rd, beat Millwall at the start of the week at Fratton, didn't they? But
it feels like the outlets Murphy, innit?
Not able to follow up.
That's what it is. That is the outlet, and they need more than that.
Yeah,
massively.
Absolutely. They're 11-8 to go down, by the way, with Betfred right now. Moving on to Swansea, who are 5-2 to get relegated, and they have now lost 5 in a row. And they got the new manager in, Ben, but find life a bit tough right now.
This looks a bit worrying, doesn't it? Because we often look at a big canary in the coal mine for teams going down as chaos and disorganisation. And are we going to have a situation play out at Swansea where we start the season with a interim manager who was promoted last season? We think, possibly, we remove that manager because we think we're going to get this manager who then ends up going to Middlesbrough, who are second in the league. You then put in Vitor Matos, who's very high on talking about counter-pressing and has this association with Jurgen Klopp, talking about energy and intensity and all of that stuff, which makes me think he's going to be asking the players to be doing something that they haven't been doing yet this season that might involve greater levels of physicality that they might need to work up towards during, say, a pre-season. If that then goes wrong and you go to the third manager in the season, what happens to teams often that have 3 managers in the season?
They've got a lot of individual quality, though. I don't. They've got more quality individually than a lot of the teams down there, but the situation doesn't feel right.
Doesn't, does it? I mean, Sheehan towards the end of last season did extremely well. We all know that. Then obviously come into this season, they have a really good window, and you think, well, Sheehan's going to be able to work with these parts that have come in as well. We talk about Galbraith, Benson, Vopotnik. There's so much talent in that team. I don't know what it is with Swansea. I can't put my finger on it. Is it a cultural reset they need? I'm not 100% sure. Top down.
Is there a bit of a death by 1,000 cuts thing that it feels like they got relegated from the Premier League? 2018 they went down, and a bit like when we mentioned about Stoke. Here comes Graham Potter, off he goes. Here comes Steve Cooper, playoffs. Russ Martin.
But I never thought with Stoke that I thought there was so many windows of which Stoke missed. I thought they missed in so many windows going for high profile players on mass wages. I actually think the recruitment with Swansea this year has been really good, and they've got a good nucleus. Young manager working with vibrant attacking players. I thought they'd be very close this season, Swansea. So this is, I can't really put my finger on it, Simon, I'll be honest.
Vipotnik, great striker. Galbraith's top midfielder. Cabango's decent centre-half. Franco's done well this season.
Josh Key as well.
17 points from 18 games, and it just feels right now that they're maybe, staring down the barrel.
Lack of fragility to get, you've got your new manager and you're going away to West Brom, where the Baggies fans, did you hear when that second goal went in? They're ready to explain to Ryan Mason in the way that football fans do that they're not happy with that. And it's the snooker player with the ball over the pocket, and you miss the pot, and it smacks of a team fragile on confidence and in a bad way. Was it 5 straight L's? Yeah. If
you can't win that game from that situation, it spells danger.
Yeah, it does. And I'll contradict myself by saying, you know what it's like, quadruple sub at half time and they score straight, all the Swansea fans then going, oh no, I know where this is going.
Ryan Mason masterclass. You give him some credit.
And then it's a Ryan Mason masterclass.
There you go.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
They've got enough. Surely.
Can I say as well, fair play, Jay Malumbi, because we were very critical of that ridiculous second yellow card. And fair play to Ryan Mason, sticks him back in, forgiveness, gets the winning goal a week later. It's a good story.
Absolutely, and he's a top midfielder in the Championship, definitely. We should look at the positive side of Oxford beating Ipswich as well, because they've leapfrogged Portsmouth and Swansea. Are we looking at another Gary Rowett survival masterclass, just like we saw last season?
I don't see why not. It's just that whole thing of extracting the absolute maximum out of a club of which has lower resources, lower budget, lower wage structure. All things point to that. I don't think there's anyone better.
No, he nails the bullseye every time.
Every time. But there's anyone better. So if there's any fragility, which we've spoken about, maybe Swansea, maybe I don't think so with Swansea, but Portsmouth, you're looking at that. Can they be dragged in? Well, obviously they are dragged in now, but Rowett loves it, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Basks in the relegation fight, and I don't see why not.
Where are you standing on Oxford right now? Saw them up close and personal,
really impressive from Rowett. I have this feeling with Rowett and Oxford that the worse the situation gets, the almost they batten down the hatches. Volk's hurls it
He
into
wants it, doesn't
Pellick.
he? Rout wants it.
And they win games. And we had those strange statistics with Oxford last season where for portions of the season they were like top 6 form, 7 games undefeated and best in the league for, sort of periods there. And they just seem to pull it out, when the chips are particularly down. But I do expect a move from Norwich. Sheffield United have done a 9-point week. I know there's only essentially 2 places that you can fall into. And you're totally right. When we find out what the accounts are, when they all come in 18 months' time, Oxford, well, probably Sheffield Wednesday will be lower than anyone this season. Oxford will be 23rd, won't they? On the budget.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think, the cream does rise, doesn't it? And I think we've just speaking about Swansea there because we're talking about their form. It's the worst currently in the Championship outside Sheffield Wednesday, I think. But you look at that and it's the quality, isn't it? You look at Sheffield United, you look at Norwich, you look at Swansea. You just wonder how many of the maybe sub-teams going to be dragged in there. Could it be a little bit too much for out this season? I don't think so.
Well, interestingly, the bookies have got them 4 to 5 on to go down right now at Betfred. And
Simon, sorry to interrupt, he'll pull a 1-0 win out of his backside.
It's like Sheffield United last year, wasn't it? Just 1-0 win out of nowhere.
Yeah, exactly. On a roll. And just very good in game and really nailed the substitutes as well. I'm fed up of talking about that game anyway. Well done, Gary.
Again.
Grow up.
I want to look at a couple of teams slightly higher up the table but could get sucked into it. Interestingly, Charlton have now lost 4 in a row.
Well, Gab said they'd be in the bottom 6, didn't he, last week? Yeah.
The prophet Gab Sutton. Yeah. We thought they might struggle a little bit and be in a bit of a kind of bottom 6, bottom 8 picture at the start of the season. However, the impressive start had them near the playoffs, and now they've regressed slightly. I don't want to read too much into an away defeat at Coventry, but 4 defeats on the row is sort of...
It's only 6 points as
well.
Time
start to worry.
Isn't it Angel Gabriel, not Prophet Gabriel? Especially at this time.
I need to look at my King James Bible and get back to
this time of year. 2 words, Nathan Jones. I wouldn't be worried. He's done an amazing job there. I think you can literally imagine training this morning. He'll go in there like nothing's happened. He'll be Zebedee like he is on the touchline, high as anything. And I know he'll be selling this narrative to the Charlton fans about player availability. And
it's not wrong though, is it?
Yeah, and just play Coventry as well. And yeah, okay, the Southampton performance was abject, and I played Stoke in midweek. So the runaway league leaders, Stoke
conceding a lot of goals though, Charlton. 5 at Southampton, 3 at Stoke.
Can we call it an outlier week? I know they've
played 3 of the top teams in the league. I know Southampton's
missing Kelman as well massively.
And the games have got really loose, haven't they? Like the 2 early goals against Stoke, and you're up against it. I'm not saying I disagree with Prophet Gabriel, but you named him there. I'm not saying I disagree with Gab, but I'm not. I think their floor is not in the relegation picture, personally.
Yeah, agreed. Missing Kelman and Godden, I think they'll be absolutely fine.
Absolutely. I'm looking slightly further up the table as well as I picture someone to get dragged in. I just think there might be a big fish that gets dragged in here. What about Leicester City? I said it a month ago.
Who do you support, Simon?
It's irrelevant. 7 points.
Figures this one, doesn't it?
7 points above the relegation zone. They've lost 2 on the spin now. Things aren't right around Martí Cifuentes. And if they weren't going to be potentially about to get a points deduction, I wouldn't suggest them. But if they get 9 points deducted, you were trying to do the maths, Ben. How's your maths gone? Does that put them in the relegation zone?
There was something about the number 24 that just wasn't computing, putting a minus after it. Something's not right. And Leicester are on the TV a lot. And these gentlemen, Mavididi, Fatawu, Winks, Skip, are good football players. Something's not computing between Cifuentes and those players, and it's not for me to come on here and say they're not following instructions or they're clearly not executing whatever game plans there. I think Fatawu, pound for pound, might be the best player in the whole division that you've got at your disposal there in terms of a ceiling of what he could do. But yeah, I know King Power can be a bit. I was there a few times. I sat in the home end a few times in the promotion season, and I was a little bit like, guys, you're top of the league and you're beating everybody, and it didn't feel a positive atmosphere at times, and I think teams are able to play on that. And Sheffield United got in front, and the fury ensued from the terraces, understandably. And I'd be fed up too if I was a Leicester fan, because you talk about Norwich spending money and getting nothing back for it. I suppose one good thing about their hearing is at least it's the deck's cleared, surely now, after years of breach talk and issues with the ownership, overspending and spending money on complete white elephant players that on contracts that are just stitching them up.
So what you're saying is that Leicester, their fans are spoiled, they're arrogant, they get carried away. There were fans leaving after half an hour, by the way, at the weekend, and that's what I mean about a club that is just negative right now on the whole. And I know what you're saying about Sheffield Wednesday, and we talk about him as a defensive manager, but they've got some of the best attacking players in the league. It's not fitting together.
I didn't mention Jordan James as well. He's quality.
Brilliant.
Yeah, really good player.
Yeah, just the tops. I mean, I do still look at, especially with how Sheffield United got at them. I know we're talking about their quality, and you talk about Sheffield United as being a defensive coach. I know the reputation is high. I understand that, people maybe would argue the caliber's high. Wout Faes and Vestergaard have got to step up a little bit more for the notoriety and how good we all think that they are. Maybe there's a conversation right now about losing a little bit of pace, getting caught out, and that's happening more recently, especially if you look at the last two. I think they'll be fine, but there is that huge caveat of a potential points deduction. So if you want to throw that into the mix, then we're having a completely different conversation, which might be realistic.
It has to happen this season. It just has to happen this season.
Yeah.
You would think. We've talked about it for so long.
Yeah.
But the issue is it needs to happen sooner rather than later so they know what they're dealing with. We can't be in a situation in May where they're 9 points above the drop zone and they could be deducted 9 points.
And once again, standards, you've got to start games quicker. You've got to you cannot just play for second halves. I think that's been a thing with Leicester recently. It's 45-minute spells. That wasn't good enough against Sheffield United. A team that's in the bottom three. You cannot go 2-0 down at home as a newly relegated side to Sheffield United. You just can't. And the second half performance was much better. Why are they not performing like that from moment one? Not good enough.
Can I just give Party Marty a bit of a pass? I thought they were quite unlucky against Southampton in midweek. That felt like one of those games where everything went wrong and they're down to 10 men and 2 goals down in like 40 minutes. Let me ask you though, would you be surprised if that squad of players and that manager won 8 games in 11?
Yeah, I think I would.
You would?
They've got a lot of quality.
They've got it in them to do it, haven't they?
But I think their frailties have been exposed on too many occasions.
They still look. I genuinely thought in that second half they still looked, when almost like the shackles were released a little bit. They looked a little bit more free flowing. They looked very good.
Well, is that it? Are they overcoached a little bit? Because we've said they've relied on Fatawi banging one in the top corner. We saw Ramsey do it at Oxford. James has done it a few times. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's a bit too structured, but professional footballers follow the instructions, and it's on the manager, isn't it?
Yeah.
And, well, hey, maybe that's what's happening.
I do take what you're saying though with Sheffield United. Obviously there is that defensive reputation, but Leicester's quality is up top, isn't it? So you've got to.
But QPR were aggressive, weren't they? They went after teams and really pressed them.
They were. I thought they were a little bit more structured though. I thought there was a little bit more onus on defensive solidity as well.
They were streaky as well, weren't they?
Very streaky.
I don't want to call for a manager to get sacked at all, but I do think if a manager change is made there, then I can see an 8-win out of 10.
You said Parkinson out, then Sheehan out.
I haven't said anyone out.
Pretty poor from
Parkinson to Leicester to replace Fuentes.
There you go.
Simon will ask you.
There's your title, Seb.
3 games as well.
Right, Ben, I asked this question of you last week, so it's Connor's turn. Connor, I want something that's going to happen in the Championship before Christmas.
Coventry are going to fall out of it. I've gone with, I think Norwich will make it out of the relegation picture.
Is that before Ben told you the fixtures?
John, it was, yes. It was. Then he listed the fixtures. My reasoning was very simple. You've very well put together the amount of players that are out of that win over QPR. There's a lot of talent there, especially when I'm looking at Topic, I'm looking at Diallo, Cordoba, Makama, massive players for Norwich. Will they invest again in the January window? Obviously, that is, I think they probably will do with the new American ownership. However, I am looking at it pre that. And I am going to go with Norwich building up a little bit of momentum here. Could they get something against Southampton? Could they get something in the other games, especially with a little bit of a peak in confidence?
Connor as well, do you think
quality.
If Sargent just gets a goal, he might do a Josh Sargent run and score 7 in 7, mightn't he?
Yeah, 100%. They've still got a lot of quality in that team. So, yeah, I'm picking Norwich to get out of it.
Excellent stuff. Right, we need to do our 3-game previews. I don't know.
Does anyone agree? Is that just it? Okay.
No, I don't think they'll be out of it by Christmas, but I think they will get out of it.
Thanks. Right.
Back to you, Jeff.
And back to you.
We need to do our 3-match previews. Come on, let's get back on track. On Friday night, we've got Hull versus Borough. Borough obviously got that win under Kim Hellberg. We've already spoken about that. Feels like Morgan Whittaker's a bit of an iceman at the moment in terms of scoring a few key goals, Ben. What do you reckon to this one?
Is this a local derby? I always get in trouble calling things a local derby. Well, I mean, Hull versus Stoke exemplified just how weird the Championship is this season. You're looking at Stoke at half-time, 1-0 up. They're going to keep second place and all is rosy in the garden. Lose the game 2-1. And Hull, who, are quite up and down and a bit erratic, take the win, and they're now on the edges of the playoffs. Obviously, Hull have got maybe the hottest attacker in the league in Gelhardt at the moment, in absolutely brilliant form. It's going to be a good test of Hellberg's mettle, isn't it? We like Hull for both teams to score game as well. They concede lots of goals.
Balloumi's back as well from the ACL.
Yeah, and he came on at half-time, didn't he? Gelhardt got moved over, and where was he for the goal? I'm struggling to separate this. If this was at the Riverside, I'd be going home win, but I'm more high on Hull with it being at MKM.
Like Joe Gelhardt from Leeds' point of view, think he deserves more of a chance, or Championship player?
I think Hull, this is his best moment of his career, 100%. I think, the likes of McBurney being part of that attacking setup has really helped him. I do wonder if, just playing in and behind that striker is helping. Joffe, obviously, effectively is playing in a 2, I see up top anyway. Never had that chance at Leeds, but there was probably 4 or 5 managers who just didn't quite see it working. Maybe it's the physicality side of it. But I'm absolutely over the moon for him. Technically, he's an outrageously good player. It's just the other parts of his game, if you can start to put that together. But it's brilliant to see him doing it this season. Great ball striker, strong, very good at reading the game. You got to think, when he was at Leeds, people were comparing his trajectory at that point to that of Wayne Rooney.
Still only 23 years old.
Which is now as a pensioner in football terms.
Let's do our score predictions, by the way, for Hull versus Borough. Connor, what are you saying?
1-2 Borough.
I'm going to go for a Borough win as well. Yep. I'll go to 3-1. 3-1 Borough.
I'll go both teams to score on the draw because you've both backed Borough. Then maybe a Desmond or silly 3-3 or something if Hellberg is going to be fun and attacking.
Well, we'll see. On Friday night should be a good game to watch anyway, really, as a neutral. Leicester derby's the Saturday lunchtime kickoff. We've talked about Leicester a bit. 3 defeats on the spin potentially, or do you reckon a home win, Ben?
You have to fancy Derby, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
At the moment, 7 wins, excuse me, in 8. Carlton Morris is going to be out for 10 weeks, but Langas and... Salverson is the Nordic striker, isn't he? And Agyemang combined for a goal. So they've got cover, even though Morris has been a great talisman. I'll repeat what I said about Wrexham. We know exactly what we're going to get from Derby, and they'll really fancy a clean sheet and an away win there, won't they?
Yeah, absolutely. It feels like, I don't want to say win or bust, but for Leicester, I've talked about them getting dragged into it. They need to start winning games at home.
Yeah, look, we've spoken about it, haven't we? But it's shackles off territory. Just go express yourself a little bit, and that is where you will get the best out of this attacking side. With Ben's mentioned before, Mavididi, Fatawu. These are outrageously talented footballers at Championship level. So I look at this on paper and I think Leicester win, but then I look at John Eustace, I look at how Derby are going to set up, I look at the form table, and then it absolutely stinks of a 1-0 derby.
That's exactly
it just stinks of a 1-0 derby.
That is exactly what I was going to say.
The pressure is then going to be huge.
And they're going to run all over Winks and Skip in midfield, aren't they? Is what they're trying to do, yeah.
You fancy an away win as well then?
you're coming to me last every time, so I'm trying to give some variety. I'll go for an unhelpful 1-1, which is probably you've taken the fun one, so probably an unhelpful one for everybody, really, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And
should we take his draws for the last one?
I'll very much take a bloody draw for the last one, I tell you.
It is Ipswich Coventry this weekend.
Go to him first.
As well. We must also mention that Ipswich have a midweek game against Blackburn Rovers on Tuesday.
And they've played away at midweek in Hull last week.
Yeah. Here's the excuses already. You know what I mean?
Right. Let me just state some objective facts, and whether you think they're excuses or not, that's a you issue, Simon Lillibury. Ipswich, factual, played away at Hull in midweek. They played away at Oxford on Friday, and we've got some weather coming to Blackburn tomorrow. Please, it's not going to happen again, is it?
Could do with a real big fish in midfield, I think, if there's a repeat of the big rain. What do we reckon, though? Do you reckon Ipswich home form has been reasonable?
Oh, mate. Do you know what?
1-1.
We were talking. we were talking about this on the Excellent Blue Monday podcast yesterday about this is a good opponent for Ipswich because Coventry ain't going to sit and low block. They're going to try and win 5-0, aren't they? And make a huge statement. I wonder whether Ipswich win this by actually being pragmatic and saying, look, you're playing the absolute white hottest team in the league you apparently need 3 goals to beat, and Ipswich aren't clicking attacking wise. Maybe it needs to be a calm, controlled performance from Ipswich, and that a basketball game, Coventry are just going to win, aren't they? So maybe we need to, not that you expect Ipswich with the squad they've got to be massively pragmatic in any home game, but we're dealing with a side that's just levels above everyone else in the division at the moment.
I've done really well not talking about Coventry so far this episode, by the way. 50 goals this season, top of the league by 10 points. Connor, if they will go there and win, this is seismic, isn't it?
Yeah, I've been in these situations as well. Been a Leeds fan in the Championship where you have these games and it's, you've done it. Obviously, Coventry have got away to Borough, massive win, scoring 4 goals there. But these are the games of which you need to flip. These are the games of which really, and look, the points difference is staggering, isn't it, right now? But you go to Ipswich and win, that is an enormous result for Coventry. I think what Ben said is a really interesting point in terms of this potentially favouring Ipswich. We've spoken this week about already, Wrexham, Watford, game at the weekend as well, maybe been a potential problem for Ipswich in a sense of low blocks. Coventry are not going to do that. This is going to be, it should be an end-to-end game, a brilliant game. I'm siding with Ipswich. How do you feel? I think that the talent that Ipswich have got, I still thought Jadon Philogene against Oxford was a danger. Obviously, like Ben's quite rightly said, it's got to be the click, hasn't it, when it comes to that forward line, but you cannot take away from what Ipswich have in that forward line. Nunes, Jack Clark.
Ipswich will score. I think Coventry have kept 1 clean sheet in 8, which is a bit mad for a team dominant at the top of the league.
Just quickly, sorry to interrupt, on this points differential gap, even if you give Ipswich 3 points at Blackburn, which is not a certainty given the logistics and the way Ipswich have been playing, even if you give Ipswich 3 points, if Coventry beat Ipswich, that will be 16 points gap at round 19. Is Frank Lampard not saying that's them done? They will not finish above you if you have a 16-point gap 19 games into... Is that not a message with 1 game and they can only play you 1 more time?
I think the thing is, it's the double header almost, though, because Coventry play Ipswich very soon after, in December, I think. 29th. It's the 28th or 29th. Yeah. I think Cov need to come out of it net zero, almost. Win 1, lose 1, whatever. Maintain that gap, and then it should be okay. Yeah. I think if you lose twice, you're a bit... Ipswich are well back in the mix, and obviously the confidence of beating the league leaders twice, very different. Right, score predictions. Who wants to go first?
Well, it feels like it's either going to be 4-3 or 0-1 to someone. Did Con go Ipswich?
He did, I think.
I've not gone score yet, but yeah.
Okay, I'll go 4-3 to Coventry, and they will score a deflected winner in minute 93.
That sounds like Ipswich's promotion season.
Oh, will you behave?
What score are you going for then, Con?
3-1 Ipswich.
I'm petitioning to bring back Deflection FC as well. I think that would help Ipswich quite a lot this season.
I'm going to go for a 2-2 on the fence, taking Ben's spot on the fence there, because I think there'll be plenty.
You're a bit nervy about this one.
No, but I also don't want to be arrogant.
Very arrogant, no need for that. Poor.
I will be delighted with a point. I've got a quiz question to finish before producer Seb shouts at us.
We've gone long.
Because I haven't talked about Coventry at all this episode. I've been really, really good. The quiz question is, where does Coventry's start to the season rank in Championship history after 18 matches? Where do we think?
Oh, what?
What do you mean?
Well, so Championship history, what, back to 2004-05?
Yes.
So I don't get to talk about Fulham under John Tigana?
No, I'm afraid
Or Newcastle under Kevin Keegan?
I think it's since 05-06.
What? Second or third best?
First.
It's Ben. This is why we get you on second.
Yeah.
It is 43 points after 18 games. Only Sheffield United 05-06 got more, and they got 44 points, I believe it was, and they only conceded 15
goals. And that would be the season
goals.
Reading got 106, yeah?
Reading, by the way, 41 points at this stage. So Coventry trending at 2 points higher than Reading's 106 point total, although they went on a ridiculous run in the second half of the season, didn't they? So still a long way to go.
Kenny, Tongi, Brownie, Pulse.
Yeah. That Fulham team, though, in 2000-2001, I know it's pre-championship. Tigana literally came in the summer and had Saha and Boamorte, won the first 11 games. I know what Frank's doing is extraordinary, but to come in the summer, he had John Collins in midfield, which is helpful as well. But yeah, you're right. It's normally, remember Fulham under Silva, that was about now where I think they scored like 18 goals in 3 games or something and then just went on a crazy. Remember Charlton under Kerbishley, like at this point winning 10 on the trot. Mm-hmm. It's normally later in the season, which is why you've got to. It's why I've had my rants about there's a long way to go, you know, on the internet these past few weeks. 11 wins in 12 at this point of the season, brilliant.
Yeah, and 50 goals scored more goals than any other team at this stage.
Ago,
Have
right?
I?
Yeah.
50 goals, anyone?
Clip that out, Seb.
Yeah.
He was having a go at Birmingham fans were saying 111 points too much. Now he's just 50 goals every 3 seasons, isn't he?
Very arrogant all of a sudden.
Right, that's enough for you two. Let's leave it there. Make sure you like and subscribe. Stay tuned.
You realise we think Coventry are good, yeah?
Yeah, no. Okay. How many goals have we scored this season?
Apparently we don't think they're good enough.
Can we finish the episode, guys? Come on, it's run on too long. Producer Seb's getting annoyed. Right, like and subscribe. Get your thoughts in the comments down below. We'll be back with a Sportsman Untitled extra episode coming to you later in the week. But that's it from us three, and we'll see you next time.